So I know we are all jumping Aleph-1 right when we can, but how realistic is it? I have been trying to pull myself together from all the depression, but now that I think about it, we are absolutely cooked. This ain't your usual threnodian whose threats are initially tied to the region they're at, because once he breaks out, it's not just about Lahairoi. The whole Solaris is done for. There is a reason why it is called an alien threnodian. Let me try to put that into perspective for you. Why is it an alien? It's probably because he is not native to Solaris, right? He came from another planet or civilization, right? And why did he leave his planet and come to Solaris in the first place? That is pretty obvious. He had already devoured that civilization or the planet he was at and is just looking for side quests at this point. To be more specific, he has eaten multiple civilizations. This is the reason why everyone is scared of it, because they don't know jack shit about him, not even the Black Shores and the Tethys system. That's right, not even the Tethys system. In a meeting where the Pioneer Association decided to create the Space Trek Collective a long time ago, the Black Shores pulled up with records related to the threnodian under Lahairoi, and guess what? Even they could not provide anything other than the usual stuff we knew about it. If you think all this about Aleph-1 is not bad enough, look at what aemeath says here. The Aleph-1 that is under Lahairoi is only a sliver of its true self, meaning it probably is not even showing 10% of its true power. This means even if we still somehow defeat it in the upcoming patches, that still won't be a full defeat for Aleph-1. The best we can do is seal it again or chase it away from Solaris for now, unless some miracle happens. After all, we don't have enough reinforcements for this one yet. imagery is not with us, Exostrider is bro even okay? No whereabouts about the Sentinel in Lahairoi, and then the Fraxidus plotting from behind. This seems like an endgame boss that we are not supposed to fight right now, but we can surely do just enough to avoid it and save imagery. Now, something people really tend to forget is that the Threnodians are sentient beings, meaning they can feel things, plan ahead, make strategies to make sure their objective is complete. Just like how Leviathan merged with Imperator, turned the Order from inside, allied with the Fraxidus, and so on. Aleph-1 is the same. Do you really think he has been sitting down there for thousands of years doing nothing? That's where the Fraxidus and the Shaper, which I think, comes in. Whether or not this is the Grand Architect or a new Overseer, one thing is for sure, that they want to form a bond between a girl and Aleph-1, just like how they did with Mia and Leviathan. Most likely they want to give Aleph-1 a vessel, which it can use to materialize itself inside Solaris, even if they are sealed. That is what we can assume so far. The girl they mentioned could be imagery or someone else we haven't met yet. Now going back to the end of 2.7, where the Grand Architect said their job in Renasita and Jinzhou is done, and now that their knowledge about the second resonance awakening, Threnodian Resonator, and the artificial Threnodian is now completed, they can finally proceed to Lahairoi, almost like they needed to know this before actually continuing with Aleph-1. Almost like their experiment with Leviathan in Renasita and the knowledge they got is going to be used on Aleph-1 now. Almost like they got the final push required to start the endgame, because it is obvious that the destruction of Solaris or the next global lament is just a matter of time if Aleph-1 somehow breaks out, and that is exactly what the Fraxidus wants. I mean, it's a literal black hole, man. Now, the reason I mentioned Shaper is because the situation with him is really suspicious, honestly, if you think about it. Before pointing out his possible connection with Aleph-1, one look at him and you can see there was definitely extra effort put into his design and the details. But all that just for this one-time interaction? I am not buying that. So let's look at the two scenes where we see the Shaper before meeting Rover. First time we see him in this injured state before the Heliogyre, where he is sending a solid skin to Rover, mentioning them as arbiter. All fine, all good. After all, he had to resist the corruption. But there was also another time we see him right after we eliminate the Voidstorm in Beata Woods. However, this time the screen and the vision was all glitchy, unlike the previous time where it looked like a normal vision. And this time he says not to worry and the path has been already laid, with a very deep voice while looking at something in front of him. Then the game shows Aleph-1. Random? Obviously not. They never show Aleph-1 in a scene without a reason. He clearly looked like he was having a chill conversation with Aleph-1. The Fraxidus making artificial voidstorms and the other Heliotic 6 members losing to corruption around the same time frame, making Shaper the only one with the access to Heliogyre, is way too convenient with the timing. Let's try to connect this somehow. We know imagery was able to time travel only after she had enough power, but in this scene, which was right before imagery goes to sacrifice herself, she says that Threnodian is changing and the void space is getting unstable. But why was it showing changes all of a sudden? Why was it after the reactor drive fell and after the Shaper got full access to the Heliogyre? Almost like so much of these events are pre-planned. If, emphasis on if, Shaper can talk with Aleph-1 like that, it means he can also be given access to the void space by Aleph-1. Then so, the Shaper knows way more than what we think. He might also have known about image's sacrifice ahead of time after gaining full access to the Heliogyre. This whole sacrifice scene that we saw holds more meaning than what meets the eye, especially the Heliogyre. Even though the records state that it's from the Exostrider, Exostriders do not have the capability to see the future, which is what this Heliogyre does. Instead, this kind of premonition abilities is more of a thing with the Sentinels. Yes, Lahiroi Sentinel, which also points a finger as to why he needed Rover's permission for this to begin with. Because every time we saw this, it was with a Sentinel like Jue or Imperator. However, right now I am thinking about two sentinels here. The first one is the sentinel which this exostrider in Lahiroi should be carrying with before it met Aleph-1 and sealed it. The other is the sentinel which the exostrider inside Aleph-1's void space was supposed to be carrying. So far, two missing sentinels, and the answer of the later might be in Honame City.
What do you mean by that?
Although that's just a hunch I have right now, I do need more evidences to back that up. But for now, this video was more about the danger Aleph-1 brings and who he could be working with to break his seal from inside Solaris. It is not looking good for us. See you guys in the next video and don't forget to share.
When the mortality like a twisted